how did you actually get into the business of collecting art and having an art gallery?
Well, when I was in Vietnam, I had a hard tour in Vietnam. I was shot down twice. I lost 22 pounds and didn't even know it because we didn't have any scales. But when I came back to the States after a year, I was kind of beat up, so to speak, and I wanted to find a place where maybe the world would stop and let me off for a while. And I knew about Santa Fe, and I love Santa Fe, and it's the only place I knew of where maybe I could get a job. I knew I wasn't going to wear a watch or a coat and tie, so Santa Fe looked good to me. And I figured if I had to make a living, so I figured maybe I could make a living in art, and that's what prompted me. It was not the love of art, it was the necessity to make a living.
And so how did you start?
I traded for some property here in town and gave some money and started at the very bottom in the art gallery business. The first two shows I had, I didn't sell a piece of art. I didn't even sell a book. But I had a little bit of money left, and so I said, I'm going to spend this money advertising, and if that doesn't work, I said, I'm just going to slam the door and go do something else. But it started working. Advertising pays.
What kind of art were you selling?
Anything I could scrounge from friends or other art galleries, and I didn't have any money to buy art, but we thought we were hustlers, and we slept on the floor on a mattress, and we painted the building ourselves, my wife and I, and slowly things started to work. Santa Fe is a wonderful place. One good thing about Santa Fe from a business standpoint is people like it as a destination.
And so basically people will come here, they will discover you even without knowing that you were there.
If you have something that they want and the word gets around, they'll find you.
So what ended up being the specialties or the areas that you worked with at your gallery?
Well, since I didn't know what I was doing to start off with, I figured one thing I learned right away was that some of the art galleries in town that were not doing too well were handling the type of art that they themselves loved. And I thought that was a mistake. And I decided that I was going to handle the kind of art that somebody else loves, because I wasn't going to buy it for myself. And I've seen lots of galleries in Santa Fe go out of business because they loved what they were selling, or they were selling art by local people that were unknown, and I know there's a real market for that, and I've got a lot of respect for those people. But I just decided that I wanted to handle more expensive things, and it was hard starting out.
And so what was the kind of art that you identified that other people loved that you could sell?
The old Taos painters. There were about 14 or 15 really good painters in Taos. There was a Taos Society, which was 10, and then there were some painters like Nikolai Feshta and Leon Gaspard and some of the others. And we started building those names. They were relatively unknown in 1972. But over a period of a short period, 2 or 3 years, while their fame mounted, and today it's really big time.
What was the kind of art that you loved that you decided not to sell?
That I loved that I decided not to sell?
Yeah, because you say, okay, I'm not going to sell the art that I love. Was there something? Were there things that you collected just for yourself?
Well, I didn't have any money for a lot of years, and everything I collected I couldn't afford to keep. So I tried to keep some things, but when it comes to make a payroll, you have to make decisions. But I like Indian things, Plains Indian particularly, but Southwestern. I like pots and baskets, and I like the lore of the West and the fun of reading about the West.
You ended up doing very well at this gallery, and I thought it was interesting because you have, if I understand correctly, ended up amassing a very large and significant collection yourself. Was there a turning point where you really started to do well both for yourself and in selling the work at your gallery?
Well, one thing that I can say for myself is that I never had to borrow money to make payroll. And that was my way I measured myself. If you have to borrow money to pay your employees, then something's wrong. But, you know, my motivation was to find a great object. Anybody can sell a great painting, but not everybody can find one. And I told my clients, I said, if you're in town at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning and you want to come see me, give me a phone number and I'll open for you.
Did that ever happen?
It happened. Waylon Jennings called me one time about 2 o'clock in the morning. He had some friends in town and they had been drinking and he wanted to open the gallery, and I did.
There is the process of selling objects, and then also there's the stories. And I have a close friend who worked at an art gallery for a while, and she said to me, she said, I'm not even selling art. I'm selling stories. I'm telling people stories, and that's what makes them buy.
Very interesting that you mentioned that, because when I was a kid, I started making rules for myself. And one of the rules that I made later on was this: it doesn't matter who you are. It only matters who they think you are. That's how Neiman Marcus got there, and that's how Andy Warhol got there. And it goes right into what your friend was saying. It's the story that sells. Of course, you want to be as honest as you can, but everybody embellishes just a little bit.